Hey, this is Chris for jamplay.com. Welcome to Modes Made Easy. We are talking about 2 ways to think this go around. And what we mean by 2 ways to think is you can think of modes in 2 different ways. You can think of them with regards to their parent key. For example, if I've got A Dorian is the second mode of the G major scale. And so when I'm playing, I could think, okay, I can play in the key of G over a particular musical context. Or you can think about Dorian, A Dorian, as a sort of standalone thing that is a scale all its own. It's both at the same time, but thinking about it in 2 different ways helps you be musical in different ways. So if I'm thinking about it in terms of, oh, I'm just playing in the key of G and I'm playing my 3 string scales all over my neck, it's one way to look at it. And we're going to exercise that. Or you can think about it as A Dorian is a minor scale with a natural 6th, or it's a major scale with a flatted 3rd and a 7. Flatted 3rd and flatted 7. So those are the 2 different ways to think. You think about parent key context, or you think about the sound. You compare it to a straight major or straight minor scale, and you compare the different tones and how it makes music different because of those tones. So let's go ahead and start with A Dorian. And this is going to be an exercise this week of playing with drones. Drones, not drones like camera drones, drones like these. Single A context. So if I play in the key of G, all my different 3 string scales, I am playing in A Dorian. I'm not being attentive to the key tones, but I am playing in the key of G with an A tonal center, which we did a lot of in Modes Made Easy, or in Fretboard Roadmap. We're going to do it more here, but we're gonna not limit ourselves to one pattern. Tonal center of A. So any one of these patterns switching patterns. I have really no regard for what tones I'm playing. I'm just borrowing from different patterns using the 3 string scale. And then, you know, I hit the root every so often. That's the one way to think. And it's great because you can go around the neck if you know those 3 string patterns. I mean, oops. If you know those patterns, you can go all the way around the neck and sort of Satriani it up, right? But it's great to be able to do that, but it's also great to be able to think about them in terms of the actual key tones, like we've been talking about this a lot in this course. And to do that, you want to be mindful of what those tones are. So we've got the natural 6th, got the minor third. And the root. Those are fantastic ones to keep in mind. So if we take more of a key tones approach, which we're saying this is a minor scale with a natural sixth. Oops, that's a major third. There we go. Natural sixth, minor third. We're targeting those different tones. We're all of a sudden a bit more musical. We're more isolated to a particular part of the neck to riff around, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, you know? Where's another place that I could play up here based on, and I'm using pentatonics a lot here. I'm like we did in the basically minor sounds. I'm using the pentatonic patterns to think of them as, oh, this is basically an A minor pentatonic, but with the minor sixth added. So that's a demonstration of the two ways to think with the Dorian mode. Again, we can play the 3-string patterns, pieces or all of them, and get familiar with how to move around the entire neck in a Dorian context. Or we can choose the pentatonic patterns that we've already worked on and insert the key tones. We're thinking of them in two different ways. One is the key of G. We're playing in the key of G with an atonal center, like we did with Fretboard Roadmap. The other is, let's be strategic about playing minor sounds with these added key tones. Natural sixth, making sure we're emphasizing the minor third along with the natural sixth and the flat seven. So again, just in the differences in how they could sound. Or, thinking about a particular note. Going back to the 3-string sort of variety. So, next mode. Any questions or comments so far?
We do have a question here.
Okay.
This one is from Doc Holdaway. If I'm soloing over a basically A Dorian progression, say A minor, C major 7, D major, A minor, would you be thinking A Dorian the whole time, or A Dorian, then C Lydian, then D Mixolydian? How about a progression like A7, D7, E7, or basically any progression that is true to one single mode?
Good questions. I would not think about that first progression, A minor, C major, D major. Well, wait a minute. Is it D major 7? Or is it D dominant 7? There's a big difference there. If it's dominant 7, then it would be Dorian. For sure. Or even just D major. Oh, I'm sorry. You have D major. I was looking at the D major 7. I'm clearly not reading correctly. So yeah, A minor, C major. That is absolutely Dorian the whole time. How about a progression like A7, D7, E7? We're going to get more into blues within the last few lessons in this course. But blues progressions like A7, D7, E7, where you have a dominant chord in each one, you can actually play Dorian and Mixolydian over that progression. And you can, what's even cooler is you can play A Dorian, A Mixolydian, D Dorian, D Mixolydian, or E Dorian, E Mixolydian. And we'll get into that more in a few weeks because it's very, very powerful to think about things that way. So I'll definitely be going over that more, the blues stuff. But you were playing a truly Dorian progression. And there are some guitar players out there who have this school of thought that you should change modes per chord, even in a diatonic chord progression. I don't think that's the right way to look at it. I think that it's better to, if you can, be in one mode and only change ear perspectives when necessary. Good question. Next.
That's all the questions right now.
Okay. Let's go on to Mixolydian. And we're going to play in... Well, let's play in G Mixolydian, which would be the key of... Anybody? Okay, G Mixolydian. G Mixolydian is the key of C. So to get familiar and be able to move around using your 3-string scales, you're just playing all in the key of C. So every pattern that works in the key of C works in the key of G Mixolydian. You just want to make sure that you're also thinking the other way, my key tones. It's a major scale with a flatted 7. So if I'm playing this straight C major scale, it doesn't really work. Whereas if I phrase around my G, my F, and my major third, which is a B, So G, B, and F, I've got my sound. So taking a standard pentatonic shape that we know and love, we could play right here. Instead of that's minor, we're going to raise the third. Oops. Even that little shape. I love these sort of shapes right here. That's based off of this pentatonic shape. Or this one. Even that shape. Three in a string. Taking your standard, major third. These have all been tapped out in previous weeks, so I'm not doing anything new. So I'm really just noodling, but what I'm trying to do is move back and forth between the three in a string approach, which shows great movement across the neck, and a more targeted approach, which is the inserting those notes or modifying the pentatonic scale to work and focus on those key tones. Before we go on to the next mode, are there any other questions? No questions, he says.
There are no questions.
Okay. Are there any comments?
We had a couple of guys, Neem1 and Doc Holdaway both knew that it was C was the parent key on the
Right.
G Mixolydian there.
Good. Okay.
But other than that, no, there's no questions.
Thanks. Okay, so we've done Dorian and Mixolydian. Let's go to Lydian. We'll go to, let's see. I Maybe we'll go to D Lydian, which is the key of D Lydian. Do we have a key yet?
Yeah, Rob D. Birch, Neem 1, and BVLZ all say A.
So, three in a string approach, kind of going all over the place. Pentatonic approach. Now we'll go D. We'll start here with this one. Well, we want major third, major seven. That key, that sharp 4, I mean, anywhere you slice it, it's a fantastic sound, you know. It's so rewarding when you get that sound of a particular mode, and Lydian is particularly like this, where just, you know, drive it, you know, take whatever it is and drive it into your ear and make it a prominent part of what you're playing. And this is exactly how you should be practicing. Going back and forth between, you know, wide scale changes, you know, scale pattern changes, and specific targeted notes, targeted repeated sort of licks made up on the spot sorts of things. It's just a fun way to practice, and it's fun to kind of see what comes out. Play fast, play slow, bend, don't bend, slide. You know, practice your phrasing a little bit. The nice thing about drone tracks is that you can kind of do, I mean, you can do whatever you want rhythmically. It's about exploring the way the notes lie over the tonal center. So we've done Dorian and Mixolydian and Lydian. We'll move on to the next mode shortly. Any questions or comments?
I have a comment here from Jeff All. One of the advantages of understanding modes is to better avoid those really bad notes. Why did I play that one?
Right. Yeah, and I even did that here. The interesting thing about drone tracks is that you can redefine the context at any time. So if you lose, you know, if I'm playing, you know, if I'm playing in this zone, if I'm in this Lydian zone, but I forget about that, and I suddenly start doing this. Oh, I'm playing in Mixolydian? What? Because I screwed that up. That's a natural 4, and not. So it's with drone tracks, because you don't have a moving chord, it is easy to lose context. But drone tracks, you know, that's part of the challenge, is maintaining context. Cool. So we're emphasizing the D, G sharp, C sharp in Lydian, well, we're in D Lydian, right? So we're emphasizing yes. I think so we have D, E, F sharp, G sharp. Those are pretty important. Your F sharp and your G sharp. And then, of course, yes, your C sharp. So D Lydian is in the key of A. Looking at it this way is you're emphasizing D, the 1, the 3, the sharp 4, and the 7 would be D, F sharp, G sharp, and C sharp.
That's from Jeff. Chris, great knowledge in playing. I admit this is over my head right now. What would you suggest that I go back to in the lesson archives to grasp a better understanding? I hope that I'm not alone here. Merry Christmas.
Oh, you're not alone here at all. Yeah, we're kicking it into high gear in terms of application versus explanation in this week, and this is week 6 of this course. You could dial back to the beginning of this course, Jeff, to the major sounds and the minor sounds, the first 2 archives in Modes Made Easy. If that still is confounding you a bit, which is totally fine, consider going back to a course I did a while ago called Fretboard Roadmap, which is really it's mapping the neck out in terms of 3 and a string scales. So it's taking the 3 and a string scales and getting familiar with them, playing them over different tonal centers for sure, but we haven't gone straight modal yet in Fretboard Roadmap like we have in this course. So that's what I would say. Going back to the archives, Fretboard Roadmap is going to be the foundations of what we're doing here, and then the beginnings of Modes Made Easy, particularly the first 2 lessons, are going to give you the stuff that you need so that this makes a little bit more sense. Good question.
And then Liliana just wanted to say she loved your rendition of Little Drummer Boy.
Oh, thank you. Some of those guitar parts I think were played on this guitar. Is that right? Maybe. All right. Gosh. Yeah, Little Drummer Boy, that's been a while. I think I did that back in 2008. 2008. It's been 9 years. Anyway, glad you liked it. Okay, any other comments?
Not right now.
Okay, moving on. Phrygian? Is that what we should do next? Sure. Let's do, let's see. E. We haven't done E as a tonal center yet. Let's do E Phrygian, which is in the key of...
Okay, we got BVLZ, Platesmith, and Neem1. I'll say C.
Yes, C. It sounds especially weird in Phrygian, though, to play just a C without targeted notes, C major scale. It doesn't work. It's much better. Pentatonic. So we've covered the basic modes. Aeolian and Ionian are straight major. We already know what to do with those. We've covered Dorian, Lydian, Mixolydian, Phrygian. Those are the basic modes that alter the major scale. There's Locrian too. Locrian it's outside the realms of what we're going to do in the two ways to think for this reason. Locrian, when you think about playing in Locrian from a full fretboard roadmap style way of thinking, it just leads back to the tonic. You really have to think about it as a Phrygian scale with a flat 5, or anything with a flat 5. And when you get into that, it's almost this sort of accidental thing that happens because hardly anything is in the Locrian mode. But hopefully this period here has given you some inspiration in you're able to see how when you're noodling or when you're playing using the 3 and a string mindset, using the whole fretboard span, you have a lot of possibilities. You have a lot of ways you can go, but it's not as targeted. It's not as tonal. It's not as maybe inspirational modally. But when you think about it in terms of pentatonics, like we talked about in both the major and the minor sounds, the first 2 lessons of this series, when you're talking about things in that context and targeting those key tones, and again, if this doesn't make sense what I'm saying, go back and watch the first 2 weeks of this course, and a lot of this, you're going to go, oh, I see what he's doing. I see why that sounded that way. But that's what this week was about. We've got 2 ways to think about modes. We've got the parent key way to think about them, which is, okay, I'm in the parent key of G over an atonal center, so I'm going to play G everywhere. Or we can say, I'm in A Dorian. A Dorian is a minor sound with a natural 6th and a flat 7 and a minor 3rd. So it's a minor scale with a flat 6, and you hone in on that particular sound via the pentatonic scale or via another scale pattern, but you're looking at it in terms of A. This is an A tonality. Questions, comments?
I got a couple of questions here, and I'm going to read them back to back because in a weird sort of way, I feel like they're related.
Okay.
The first one is from Lyle, and the question is, why modes? How will they help me? And then Talos1975 makes a great comment. Once we've learned the patterns, this really is all about the ear, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'm just getting that. I kind of feel like that relates to Lyle's
Yeah.
question as well, about why they help you. They help you. They
Yeah,
develop your ear.
it is. It's all about the ear. It's because there are so many musical contexts out there, so many songs, so many tracks, whatever, that if you just go and you play them and you just know your pentatonic patterns or you know your major scales, there are so many sounds out there that you're not tapping into that are very appropriate for certain chord progressions. So, Lyle, when you understand the scale patterns and when you understand what makes certain modes tick from a scale perspective and from a chord progression perspective, and that we've covered that at length in the first five lessons of this series. When you understand those things, it really does become all about the ear. You're listening to a song and, oh, a minor 1 with a major 4. I can play the Dorian scale over that. Well, a Dorian scale is you can think about it in terms of parent key. So if it's an A Dorian, you can think about it in terms of playing in G over something that has an A minor 1 with a major 4. Or you can think about it as, A pentatonic, A minor pentatonic with a natural 6th. Think about it in both ways. And you've got a lot of ways to approach that are musical and, I mean, if I was to use the word correct, it's just a better way of playing. It's a more complete way of thinking. It's a more complete way of looking at the music that's in front of you and reacting to it. Good questions and observations.
Okay, we got a couple more here.
Uh-huh.
This one is from, get on the right one here, from Platesmith. Any suggestions for related ear training courses?
Check out my course. It's an archived live course called Rhythm and Harmony. That goes a lot into ear training, and we take a look at a lot of different tracks and contexts, and show you how to work with intervals and chord progressions, and that's a great course. Rhythm and Harmony.
Okay, and then I think Don Ross did an ear training course, how to play by ear.
Cool.
That might be helpful as well.
Yeah, good.
Okay, next question here. How can we associate the cage system with the modes?
Great. There's a lot of information on that. I haven't really gone over that in this particular course. Oh, I have actually, with the pentatonic patterns. That's the best way to associate the cage system with the modes. You take the caged pentatonic patterns and you insert the modal key tones into each one. And I did some of that today already. But let's look at the G shape here of the pentatonic scale. We've got... Right? That's a minor pentatonic pattern. But we could play that in Mixolydian. We could play A Mixolydian by modifying the scale. So this is a caged position pentatonic scale. And we're going to take the third and move it up a half step. All of a sudden we've got a caged, a position based off of a caged pattern, but it's Mixolydian. So that's just one example, and that we covered that earlier in the course. I hinted on it a little bit earlier in this, but for each of the modes, we've done that in one of the pentatonic caged patterns. And there's courses, I think David Walleman does a course on caged modes, so does Nick Kelly. And both of those courses are great. Those are on Jamplay as well.
Okay, and that's all the questions for now.
Great, guys. Well, thank you so much for being a part of this. We'll see you next week for another edition of Modes Made Easy, and we'll see you in a little over an hour for Skill of the Week.